So I was going through this source, Nostalgi-AI Monthly, Volume 8, and what really jumped out at me wasn't just, the nostalgia. It's how August 1980 feels like this very specific tipping point.
Oh, absolutely. A tipping point. You can almost feel the humidity coming off the page in the text.
Exactly, that Dog Days Garage vibe where
Yeah.
everything is just sweltering.
It creates this pressure cooker environment, doesn't it? This source frames it as the last real breath of the 70s before everything's sort of rebooted.
Yeah.
We think of decades changing on the zero, but the argument here is that this was the month the analog 70s really smashed into the digital 80s.
The summer of synthesizers and space.
That's the one. And that tension is everywhere.
And you see that collision most clearly, I think, in the movies.
Right, in the cinema listings.
I mean, sure, The Empire Strikes Back is the king, as they call it, the ultimate space opera. But comedy is where things are just exploding. The source spends so much time on Caddyshack and Airplane.
And it's the speed of it. Airplane brought in that rapid fire, don't blink or you'll miss it absurdity.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Exactly. It's not just a punchline. The source says it's a signal that the rules had changed.
But while the theaters were all this, anarchic fun,
Yeah.
back in the living room, things were surprisingly tense.
Oh, yeah. The national obsession with Dallas.
Who shot JR? The text makes it sound like it was completely suffocating, the only thing anyone could talk about.
And you put that right next to this weird void in sports. The Moscow Olympics were on, but the source describes them as ghostly.
Because of the U.S. boycott.
Right. It left a vacuum. And you can see how American culture just pivoted. All that energy snapped right over to baseball.
Julie's and the Royals.
Chasing in the World Series. It's like, if we can't cheer for the nation globally, we'll pour everything into the pennant race.
And when all that heat and tension got to be too much, the music was the escape.
The air conditioning, yeah.
I love the playlist breakdown. You have Christopher Cross's Sailing.
Which the source perfectly calls drifting away from the humidity.
Totally. It's soft, it's safe, it's very 70s.
Yeah.
But then you get this jolt.
Diana Ross.
Upside down.
That track is so important. The source points out that while Sailing is looking backward, Upside Down is pure future.
The production is so tight.
It's chic. It's Nile Rodgers. The text says it right there. The groove is changing. It's not disco anymore. It's the blueprint for 80s pop.
Speaking of blueprints, the tech section in this deep dive is where the sci-fi stuff really lands for me.
This is the birth of portability.
Yeah. The source talks about seeing a Nintendo Game & Watch for the first time. The ball game.
So simple now. Just a little stick figure juggling.
But the author is just in awe. The big takeaway is it fits in your pocket. That was the revelation.
It completely changed the idea of where gaming happens. Before that, you had to go to an arcade or sit in front of a TV console.
Right.
But the true paradigm shift mentioned here, the one that really rewrote social behavior.
The Walkman.
The Sony Walkman.
Yeah.
The way the author writes about saving up lawn mowing money for it, it's so powerful.
And that feeling of walking down the street with your own personal soundtrack. They call it sci-fi stuff.
It was. Creating your own audio bubble in public was a radical act.
We just put in earbuds now to signal, don't talk to me. But back then, it was like a superpower. High fidelity stereo in your own head.
That's the real aha moment in this whole document for me. The Walkman didn't just change music. It changed our relationship with public space.
It'll let you put a movie soundtrack over your own life.
Exactly. That detachment, which is so normal for us now with smartphones. It starts right there with a cassette player and foam headphones.
So when you zoom out, August 1980 is this amazing mix. You've got escapism from Bill Murray and Luke Skywalker. And at the same time, in your pocket, the very first seeds of the mobile revolution are being planted.
And looking at a simple LCD game and a cassette player as futuristic, that's a great reality check for us. It forces you to look at the device in your hand right now a little differently.
It really does. It makes you wonder, what piece of technology do you use today that feels so cutting edge? But in 40 years, people will look back on it as the charming, clunky beginning of something we can't even imagine yet.